Hi. We're going to discuss today about hunting knives for doing out for different things, whether it be skinning out a deer, gutting a deer, or even skinning out muskrats and raccoons and coyotes and such. Many of hunters these days have the belief that we need to have this great big knife to turn around and dress out this little itty bitty deer. Yeah, I said little itty bitty deer because they're not big as elephants. So it's kind of funny how we all like to run around with a 6-inch blade, and they trust me, they look nice. I make them, I have them. But what I have found over time is that I have found that a 3-inch blade, and some people even prefer a smaller blade to dress a deer, skin a muskrat, clean a squirrel, and they all have their valid points. But for myself, a smaller blade works more efficient, and it definitely has its place in my knife collection for doing out deer and muskrats and such. And the reason why is because it's very versatile, because when you run with a smaller blade, you have more control over the blade while you are dressing out your animal. So it's really important to know where your comfortable is, your comfort zone, and let's just see how things go. I'm going to show you a knife that I have made. I put them together. I make the sheaths, and I also turn around and make the handles out of deer antler, and I turn around and I buy the blank blade, and I put them together, and I sell them on occasion. And I use them a lot. I've used these particular knives for myself, and I've made probably over 50, 60 knives itself for friends of mine and some people that wanted to buy them. Mainly for the characteristic is with whitetail deer antler, every knife that is made with a whitetail deer antler is an original. There is no other, because every antler that you get from off a whitetail, whether it be thickness, length, different characteristics within the antler, makes it an individual knife and makes it a original. So there's no really any kind of duplication involved. So let's take a look at this knife and let's see what we come out with to what I consider as a good blade. Now, as you can see, this here is roughly about 3 1/4 inches long, okay? And the handle is made out of whitetail deer antler, and this happens to be a brow tine off a nice 4, possibly 5-year-old buck, and this is part of his brow tine that I turn around and made into an antler. Now, as you can see, I also have a curvature on this antler for the handle, and the reason of it being is so it fits nicely in the hand, as you can see. Now, if you turn it over in the hand, the blade that is being up, so when you're dressing your deer, the blade is up, obviously. But as you can see, there's a curvature here in the antler. So when I put it in my hand, the blade is up. It's up in the upward position. So what you do is, after you make your initial cut around the abdomen, whether you have taken off the male member and the testicles on your deer, and you have what's left is the abdominal muscle, and you make a small incision down near the bottom where the hindquarters start, and you will see it'll narrow right down to almost a real small little V. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to make a nice little slit just into the tissue. You're not going to take the knife and poke it in. You're going to turn around, take your knife, and you're going to cut slowly and maybe spread that apart a little bit until you see some of the innards are possibly poking out, like intestine. So what you're going to do is you're going to take these 2 fingers, or the 2 fingers here, and do it. But I prefer to use the first 2 fingers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the knife blade and take the tip of the knife and put it right in between. See how I have it here? And I'm going to lay it into the opening of the abdominal cavity, onto the lower part of the abdominal, better known as the obliques. And I'm going to lay that in there, and therefore when you're starting to run that up towards the sternum of the deer, the chest cavity, what you're gonna see is if the tip is between your two fingers and you're running your hand up the abdomen, the tip of the blade will not puncture the stomach or the intestines or anything like that. If it does, it's usually because you went too far in. And where it really needs to be is you just need to bury the tip between your two fingers, put it into the hole, and run it up, the blade up, run it up towards the sternum or the chest cavity of the deer. When you do that, you're lessening your chances of nicking the stomach and the intestines, which could really end up being a really nasty, smelly, stinky little mess. But with a smaller blade, what I've found, it's easier to handle. And you don't necessarily need to split the sternum or the chest cavity for dressing the animal out. All you need to do is cut the diaphragm, reach in if you've already cut the throat on the deer down on the bottom half, or even reach up into the chest cavity, pulling the esophagus down and being very, very careful, reaching up into it with your knife and cutting the windpipe, and then pulling the windpipe all the way down to the diaphragm, opening the deer cavity up a little bit more, cutting the diaphragm all the way down and around away from the spinal cord, and then grab the rest of the intestines and the contents of the guts and pulling them straight out. Now, this is the reason why I use a small blade, is because it's more efficient than a 6-inch blade or a 10-inch blade. There's guys, it's that big eagle thing, and we really don't need to have that big eagle thing because it's not always efficient. But there's people that like their preferences for a larger blade. Myself, I don't. I've done many of deer over the years. I'm 52 years old. I've been hunting deer since I was legally able to with a bow. Right on through with the guns. I do all phases of hunting. I'm also a trapper. And as you can also see, I also make knives. So this is all I have for now. I hope this information is very valuable to you. And I really hope to hear from you again, and maybe even have a few likes on this video or this YouTube video. And let's have some comments. I'm really kind of curious about how you guys feel about it. And like I said, a small blade sometimes is much better than a large blade. In my own personal preference, a small blade is best. So until again, I'll talk to you soon, and I'll have another piece of video for you, whether it be on knives, maybe putting one together, or maybe a segment on trapping, or something on deer hunting that maybe some of you don't even know about, which will make your hunting more enjoyable as well as more successful. So this is all for now. This is Peaks Animal Control, and y'all have a good day, or even a good night, or even a good weekend. And I'll see you again soon. Have a good day. See ya.